The owner of a Viano model 639 has a complaint. There are whizzing noises coming from the front on the driver's side. Check the gap dimensions around the front door. This will tell you if the door is out of alignment. The feeler gauge is useful here. The gap between the pillar and the door is not flush here. Let's compare. The passenger side front door is properly adjusted. Remove the lock striker screws. It is recommended to remove the lock striker on the B-pillar. Note, this is to avoid damage to the door lock. It is easier to adjust the door if you have a helper. Loosen the 3 screws connecting the upper and lower hinges to the door. Loosen the screws just far enough that you can move the door with force. The door must still be held firmly by the hinges. Now the door can be moved vertically up and down. The door can also be moved inward and outward. This allows for the in and out adjustment of the door near the front fender. Once the door is correctly positioned, it needs to be fixed in place. Tighten down the 6 screws that you had loosened before. Note, tighten all screws on the upper and lower door. Hinges to a torque of 31 Newton meters. Now, reinstall the lock striker. First mount the lock striker, such that it can still be moved back and forth. Then align the lock striker and the door lock. Close the door to the correct depth, and then carefully reopen. Tighten the lock striker screws to a torque of 20 Newton meters. Now check the gap dimensions around the front door. Run the feeler gauge along the door gap. The gap between the front door and roof. The front door and fender, and the front door and rocker panel must be 5 mm plus or minus 1 mm. The gap dimension between the front door and sliding door at the bottom and top must be 6 mm plus 1 mm or minus 1 mm. To prevent rattling noises during travel, the door check needs to be correctly adjusted. Turn it to move it in or out as required.